Femi, okay, you're watching this stream. Today we look ahead to January the 14th and Uganda's presidential election. What are your hopes and fears for the leadership in Uganda for the next 5 years? If you're on YouTube, you can jump into the comment section and be part of today's program.
And the current situation in Uganda as of now, everyone is on tension, citizens are on tension because the anxiety of who is going to win, the current state, people think they're going to rig the elections, and then the different parties that are on board, at least we have about 11 candidates, and the situation is really a tense one, but we hope we have a peaceful election.
To join today's discussion, we invited President Museveni, but his office, his team didn't reply to any of our invitations. We also scheduled presidential candidate Bobi Wine to be part of the conversation, but earlier on today, he said he was unable to join us due to campaign commitments. But we do have an excellent lineup. Hello, Joel. It's really good to see you. Hello, Ofonyo. Hello, Lydia. Thank you for being part of the stream. Joel, tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Joel Senyonyi, and I'm the spokesperson of NUP. That's the National Unity Platform political party, and also spokesperson of the People Power Movement.
Ofonyo, good to see you. I've seen you on the news on Al Jazeera earlier on today. Tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Yeah, I'm the Executive Director of the Government Media Center and spokesperson of the Government of Uganda.
Thank you for joining us, and hello, Lydia. Please tell our international audience who you
are. Good evening. I'm Lydia Namovilu, a Ugandan journalist and the Africa editor at Open Democracy.
Lydia, I am looking on my laptop at the candidates for the presidential elections in Uganda 2021 to 2026. That will be their term. And I'm just going to scoot down and look at the candidates here. Out of these candidates, who stands out for you? Who is the most impressive from your perspective? Who seems to be capturing the public's imagination?
Those are two different questions. The one I find most captivating is not necessarily the candidates that's most capturing the public imagination. So I would say for the public, there are two frontrunners. There's President Museveni, incumbent for 35 years, and then there's Sentamu Kyagulanyi, most commonly known as Bobi Wine, who was only 4 years old when President Museveni became president. I would say the two are the foremost runners in the race. I'm not voting either necessarily. Myself.
Ofonyo, I'm just looking at President Museveni's Twitter feed, counting down to election day, and one of the critical issues that you seem to be using to appeal to Uganda's voting citizens will be securing the future, that with President Museveni, you continue to have a secure future. It's so difficult to be distracted by politics in Uganda right now. I want you to really focus on issues at the beginning of our conversation. Is that the biggest campaign promise that the government is giving the people of Uganda, a secure future?
Yes, because 35 years ago, Museveni got Uganda in the abyss. A failed state, no army, no parliament, no judiciary, no civil service, nothing, no economy. Not even the basics, sugar, salt. Over 35 years, all those are now uprooted. There was no democracy, no media. We have made tremendous journey of transformation, of empowerment of the previously marginalized women, youths, young people, the disabled. We were a pariah in the international community. We want to continue with Museveni's leadership, with the NRM leadership, so that we continue to consolidate and secure the future. We do believe that we have built a firm foundation on which we can build a better, the greater Uganda. And so every indication is that Yoweri Museveni is the preferred candidate for majority of Ugandans. There may be a lot of noise in town, but that is the reality. Museveni is going to win. His party, the National Resistance Movement, is going to win overwhelmingly the next parliament and the local governments of Uganda. Our conservative estimate, 70%, 73%. I don't think there's going to be a big dent from the current formations in the country, political formations in the country.
All right, let me bring in Joel here. Joel, I've been following your outreach via social media. Uganda has 3 major problems you tweeted out recently. 1, leadership. 2, leadership. 3, leadership. Critical issues as you approach election day for you that you're appealing to the Ugandan public. What are they? Joel, go ahead. Hi there, Joel. Can you hear me? Critical issues approaching the January 14th election. I saw you tweet out leadership. Any other points? Any other mandate apart from that? Joel, go ahead. We may have lost Joel. Let's see. Hi, Joel.
All right. I'm back now. So, talking about that tweet specifically, I say that yes, are 3: leadership, 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 because ultimately everything is revolving around leadership. When you go to our hospitals, there's no medicine. Women are giving birth on the floor. Why? Bad leaders who are not concerned about the people. The phonopondos will spend billions of taxpayers' money, government officials, flying out for treatment. And so they'll not be concerned about the ordinary taxpayer. It's bad leadership that, sees our children studying under trees in 2021, 35 years later of the leadership of Mr. Museveni. It's bad leadership that does that. When you look at our economy, these guys keep talking about progress. Oh my goodness. A few are extremely rich. The gap between the rich and the poor is so wide. So when you look at GDP and GDP per capita, yes, it will show you that there's a bit of progress. But you see, GDP per capita, it means so, yes, there's somebody who is extremely rich and another who is too poor. They'll do a balance and then get an average. So many young people are unemployed in this our good country. When you look at our human rights record, for heaven's sake, opposing Mr. Museveni is like a death sentence. People are being killed, people are being maimed, hundreds of people are behind bars because one man wants to rule our country forever. And for us, we are saying, no, we can't do better. We should be able to do better. We think that 35 years later, Mr. Museveni has done what he's been able to do, but there's lots of things that he has messed up. Corruption in this, our good country, is skyrocketing. Government officials are stealing on a daily basis billions of taxpayer money that is meant to fix education and all these different things. And so that's why I keep taking it back to leadership. Once we get leaders that are going to serve the people as opposed to serving themselves, the situation can change. It should be able to change.
I'm just looking here at a tweet from Baker. Baker is part of the conversation that we were having online. And he says that President Museveni is the right choice, tried, tested, strategic. Others are not thinking anywhere beyond the 14th. Lydia, your take on that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely one of the ways in which President Museveni appeals to people. He said he appeals to a certain kind of people who would rather, who are risk averse, who think whatever we have now, I would rather have this than take a chance on what's the unknown. But I wouldn't say those people are the majority, to be honest. I think, like Joel was saying, there's lots of people who are disgruntled. Mr. Fono Opondo was talking about, where Museveni brought us from. We were a pariah, a failed state, and all of that. But what he's talking about, the change that Mr. Museveni brought in the 1980s and the 90s, is not necessarily the same place we still are. I think lots of people feel like we've regressed. We once were on a revolutionary path, and we've since regressed. So I think I would say, yeah, some people risk averse. They don't want to risk what they already have, especially people who are comfortable. But there are lots of people who also feel excluded and marginalized in many, many ways, economically, as members of certain ethnic groups. Young people do not see themselves represented at all by the government. It's a government run by old men who very often do old men things like slowing down the internet, closing social media. So I think it's not a universal perception for sure.
I want to bring in a Belgwin Prosper Lumu, who picks up, Lydia, on your point about this being a young people's election. This is what he told us when he looked at who was running, who were the potential candidates. Have a listen to Belwyn.
And people are very excited to see that very many youth have come up to take the highest office of the land, the president's office. So you look at people like John Katumba, 24 years of age, is the youngest presidential candidate, and the most popular being Bobi Wine, Mr. Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. So people are very excited to hear from all these people, and the whole country is pushed into a state of excitement, uncontrollable excitement, whenever they see or listen to these people talk or meet them whenever they go to campaign.
Yes, we have so much activity happening on YouTube. I want to open up some of their questions and share them with you. So David Dennis says, how are the post-polling activities like vote counting ensured to be safe and fair by the party agents? Ofonwo, let me ask that of you very directly and a brief response, please.
Well, first of all, at the time of nomination, it was transparent. Through the Electoral Commission, candidates were asked to send their representatives at the national level to the polling station level, 2 agents each person. Once voting starts at 8, it closes at 4, and voting is done, counting is done in the open at the polling station. And the results are announced at the polling station before they are taken for tallying at the district level. So with that, with the observers, with the media, we expect any reasonable candidate to have sufficient number of reliable agents to take care of their interests. Okay. There's nobody going to fidget with the voting, and so the election will be credible. The results will be credible. Will be reflecting the will of the people. I have no doubt about that. So, the whole country is
yeah. So what is interesting here, and we've known this for some time. Have a look at my laptop here, John. Then I'm going to go straight to you. The EU says it won't monitor Uganda election, limiting polls international scrutiny, and that's because the last time they looked at Uganda's elections, they weren't happy that it was free and fair. Joel, how confident are you that this election, January the 14th, the number of people who voted, the votes that went to various candidates, they will be accurate?
Our elections are very troublesome. There's a lot of intimidation that happens on a daily basis. And you see, an election is a process. It's not just an event. So we're talking about 14th, but it began a long time ago, and then it will head to 14th and thereafter. It's an entire process. It begins with consultations, for example, that are provided for within our laws. But if somebody is desirous to stand for president, they can go across the country consulting. Bobi Wine tried to do that, and they stopped him. They said, no, you won't move around. That was way before COVID-19, which now our government uses. They use COVID-19 as an excuse to persecute the opposition, to kill people, which is illogical that you're killing people as a way of trying to protect them from COVID-19. So it's an entire process. Consultations did not happen. On nomination day, our presidential candidate was bundled up. Many of us were beaten and so on. And it's been the process. That's the way things have been happening. People are being killed. People are maimed. People are in jail, And so as we head to 14th, there's too many questions, too few answers. So ballot papers were delivered, for example, seals were broken. And the EC said, you see, it's because of our Bambi roads. That's why the seals broke. But those seals are too strong. And so there's concerns about all these different things. So Ofono was saying that, you see, the media will be there to cover and so on. But government and the Electoral Commission have come out to say, we are not allowing cameras at polling stations. And we're saying, wait a minute. Why are you keeping cameras away? What are you trying to hide? Or are you now going to use any other excuse? Cameras spread COVID-19. What exactly are you trying to hide?
All right. So guess I hear all three of you. Lydia briefly, and then Ofonwo briefly, and then we go back to YouTube. Go ahead, Lydia.
Right, about cameras at polling stations, I believe the Electoral Commission has clarified it's not allowed within the cordoned off voting area, but journalists will still be able to observe the election. However, I understand people, like the EU teams that are no longer observing the elections because, like the EU, Ugandans are very familiar. You observe, you see, you document a lot of wrongdoing, and nothing's done about it. I mean, every election since 2006 has been challenged in court, and the court has made long lists of recommendations, most of which are just ignored. Mr. Opondo was talking about the procedural things that will happen on election day as they are on paper, but in practice, they don't necessarily happen that way. I live just about 6 kilometers from the Electoral Commission. In 2016, my polling station got their ballot papers at 3 p.m. And like he's telling you, then voting ends at 4 p.m. When are people going to vote? So I think it's one thing to put things on paper. It's quite another to actually ensure that those things happen. And when things fail to happen as they should, that remedy is, that voters have remedy and correction is made to avoid those things being repeated, which we haven't seen so far. So I really completely understand people who don't feel like this is going to be a fair election. I think we haven't seen sufficient commitment from the government to make it fair, and it certainly doesn't help that unfairness benefits the regime's candidate.
If you have been following Uganda's elections, obviously if you're inside of Uganda, you will know this, that some of the opposition candidates have had quite a challenging time. I'm putting that lightly. I want to show you presidential candidate Bobi Wine just a little while ago when he was campaigning and what happened to him. Let's have a look.
I'm back again. I'm sorry, I've been tear gassed in my car. The police officer is ordering that I'm not supposed to park on the side of the road and speak to media.
So I'm wondering, Ofonwo, why a presidential candidate is wearing a helmet and a flat jacket and in an armoured vehicle to campaign. But YouTube has even tougher questions here. Lorna Maria says, censorship is our biggest problem. Mbambu Annette, the biggest issue is that police are killing innocent Ugandans. Ofonwo, how would you respond to those two lines of questioning?
Well, before I respond to that, I'm very glad that Lydia has debunked Mr. Joel Senyonyi's false claims that journalists are not allowed. The reason the Electoral Commission has said, indeed the regulations, that cameras are not allowed inside the polling station is to protect the integrity of the secret balloting, so that nobody traces how a voter voted. Now, the claims by Lydia again that there is no way to verify whether the voting is credible or not, again, is not correct, because it is the onus of the candidate to choose a credible polling agent. I just want to correct you. It is not true, it is not accurate that the EU won't be sending representatives to monitor or to observe the election. They will not be sending observers from their respective countries. However, they are going to send observers from already their mission, the staff already in the mission in Uganda. I happen to sit at the National Organizing Committee of this election as a spokesperson of government. We have accredited EU delegates from their respective embassies. We have accredited the observers from the British High Commission in Uganda, the staff that are already in Uganda. Obviously, because of COVID, they are skeptical of sending their staff, their people, their citizens to Uganda, where they don't know how the COVID is being managed. Now, let me just go quickly to the issue of the fracas, the violence.
Joe, just hold tight for a moment, because I'm interested in hearing why.
Yes.
Hold tight for a moment. Unfortunately, when everyone's speaking, so why is a presidential candidate having to wear a flat jacket and a helmet to campaign?
To ask yourself, there are 11 presidential candidates. Why 2 are the ones having fracas with the police? Those 2, Kyagulanyi and Amuriat, have clearly said more than 100 times that they will conduct this campaign, this election, through defiance of the law, to bring the country to a standstill, civil disobedience. in the hope they can make governance in Uganda possible and hopefully overthrow the government.
So, Fonwa, I just want to push you because we only have so much time in this show. So, it was like, what? Why is it? Why are they wearing?
Part of it is theoretical. Some of it is a drama. They want to get sympathy from people like you, from people like the media, and international observers. So we want to leave them to play that theoretical.
What about the 52 people who were killed? Were they just being dramatic? Really?
And also the many attempts.
All right, so guess this is painful. Guess this is very painful to hear. So just let me pause for a moment. Everybody, just pause for a moment.
You will be handled with the force.
All right, Joel, go ahead. Just Joel.
So, look, it's very interesting hearing an old man like Ofonopono go on TV, international television, and tell the lies that he's telling. That so it's gimmicks and all of this. Been many attempts on Bobi Wine's life. We just saw a video there. They just shoot aimlessly numerous times. They have shot at somebody very close to him, clearly targeting him. And so he's trying to shield himself. Ofonopono says that my candidate, Bobi Wine, said he's going to defy all the laws. Which laws are we talking about? Because there's a campaign schedule. He goes out there to campaign in districts that he's meant to be in, and the police says, no, you cannot. He goes to speak at radio stations, and they pull him out. Police officers. So is he spreading COVID-19 even when he's on radio? But there's a question I'd wanted to ask Ofonopono about, the observers. So he says, yes, they've accredited all these observers and all of that. But you see, all the reports that these people produce are never acted upon. And that's why they're saying, you know what, I would rather not be part of this. But it's not just the observers of Ofonopono. The Supreme Court of our country did issue out recommendations, 10 of them, to try and sanitize our elections. The government of Uganda, for which Ofonopono you speak, has not implemented even one. So why go around in circles and say, yes, we are accrediting them and they are around, but of what use is it for you to accredit them? They are around, they make recommendations, and you don't act upon them.
Well, a recommendation can be taken and can be rejected.
Yes, Lydia, go ahead.
A court. I mean, that's shocking that that the government spokesperson would say that court recommendations, a court ruling can be rejected or taken. That's shocking. We're talking about the highest court in Uganda. But I do have a question for a different question. When you talked about ensuring the credibility of the voting process, you talked about candidates picking agents, credible agents, and all of that. But I'm not a candidate. I'm not an agent's candidate. I'm just a voter who would like to cast my vote. I live just 6 kilometers from the Electoral Commission. It's 3 p.m. My ballot papers,
Lydia, we have 1 minute left in this show. Ask your question. Okay. What is Lydia supposed to do?
Under those circumstances?
First of all,
briefly.
First of all, delay of my ballot materials is not the dominant feature in the election. But let me go specifically to your polling station. Assuming it comes late, the law says whichever voter is on the queue by 4 o'clock will vote even if it goes up to midnight. So that's the law. So if you're on the queue by 4, you will vote.
All right. So, guess we have so much conversation happening on YouTube. This was a very timely show to be looking ahead to what may happen in Uganda come voting day on January the 14th for Fonro, Joel, Lydia, YouTubers. Thank you for your excellent questions. I want to have a look here back at my laptop because there are so many issues that we haven't yet discussed, and my laptop was frozen, so I can't be able to show you that. I'm sorry about that. But there are stories that we're running right now on aljazeera.com. Facebook shuts down Ugandan accounts ahead of general elections. That is a big story. Has your YouTube, has your online connectivity in Uganda, has that slowed down? That is a big story. And then I also want you to look at my colleague, Catherine Soy. She is tweeting, she is reporting from Kampala. You will see her on aljazeera.com. You'll see her on Al Jazeera English as well. So keep following this story. It is a big one. Thank you, everybody, for being part of the show. I'll see you next time.